based here in southeastern Connecticut that specializes in obtaining items or services for Connecticut combat wounded veterans that aren't being met by other organizations like the VA. So what we like to think is with the VA or these other establishments have to leave off because of their corporate red tape and limitations, we can come in behind them and fulfill these needs by reaching out to the community, working with our vast network of supporters, and just coming together as a whole. Involved and how do they join in on the fun with us? A lot of things you could do. Follow us on Facebook, #1, Instagram, Twitter. Go to our website at gotph.org. You can send donations, send us a message. Spread the word of what we're doing. All the Connecticut Purple Heart recipients, we are out there trying to make a difference in their lives. So please give us a hand and join in on the fun.
Hey, this is Texas singer-songwriter Sergeant Scotty Frazier, proud to have served in the United States Marine Corps and now proud to serve with music. I am honored to be interviewed by and partner with Fubar Studio, the best in military and veteran supporting podcasts. Check them out, and thank you for your service for our American heroes. Also check out scottyfrazier.com for more of my music, and check us out on Spotify, Amazon, and where all good things are streaming. Semper Fi, rock and roll.
Bring your appetite down to Big Belly Cafe, 140 Gore Street, Webster, Mass. for curbside, takeout, and indoor seating. Visit bigbellycafe.com to view their hours, menu, and order online. For reservations, please call ahead at 508-949-2433. Follow Big Belly Cafe on Facebook for weekly and daily specials. And remember, all veterans receive a discount for their recognition of service. Big Belly Cafe. Reedy's Archery, located in Middleborough, Mass. at 121 Wood Street, has been a staple in the area since 1993 and has become the one-stop pro shop for competitive target archers and bow hunters from New England. Reedy's is open Monday through Thursday, 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., Saturdays, 10 p.m. to 4 p.m. Make sure to visit reedysarchery.com and follow them on Facebook to keep up with upcoming events. Reedy's Archery, dedicated to the archer. Wolf Aviation Network is the only flight school in the area utilizing the Airwolf Simulator AATD and the specialized Part 61 training program designed to save students money while increasing safety and efficiency. Creating safe pilots is our first priority. Our flight sim is the perfect training device. It is designed to prepare students adequately before taking flight in our aircraft. Fly with us and save money. Wolf Aviation. Reserve your spot at 413-563-1929 and visit wolfaviationnetwork.com.
This is what we train for, every day.
We just received new intel that there's an enemy presence at the airstrip compound.
All those years. When you're the first to arrive, it's not enough to be ready. You have to be relentless. It's our job to control the ground and the sky, wherever they may meet, even behind enemy lines. They call us one-man air traffic control towers, but we're more than that.
Ivy Lima Charlie, break. Airfield is stable. You are clear to land.
We turn hell into an airstrip. And clear the way for others to follow.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Let's do it.
And we're hot. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Doug, and today we've got a special guest with us, an Arca Menards racing race car driver. But before we get into that, I want to say thank you to all the viewers and listeners last week, as well as I want to say thank you to all of our sponsors. They're going to be listed right down below going through. Please definitely, if you can, definitely shop at their locations. Check them out. If you got Big Belly Cafe and a few others, Reed's Archery. But take a look, go through them. Make sure you support our sponsors because it's without their help, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. Without further ado, I want to introduce Brayton here with us. He is one of the Arca Menards Racing Series race car drivers. What's going on, man? How's it going?
It's going pretty good. Got back from Daytona a couple weeks ago. Daytona always a blast. I get to go down there and race and get ready to go out to Phoenix next week.
Absolutely. That's going to be nice, beautiful weather out there, too, it looks like. So definitely excited. I know you're excited. You guys are probably working on that car tirelessly as we speak still. Get a little rest away from not have to work on the car, right? So I wanted to go into and get you on here with us, and I appreciate you coming on with us. Is going back to your early days of as a kid growing up. I mean, how did that all get into you getting into racing?
Yeah, so obviously, I'm from Indianapolis, and Indianapolis is huge country racing territory. You can't drive down the street without seeing somebody with an IMS flag or with a racing banner in their driveway. And I grew up, thankfully, kind of in a racing family. My dad had always been around racing when he was growing up. His dad took him out to the short track and to IMS and whatnot. And then in the 80s and 90s, he kind of started working on cars and getting into ownership of cars around town here. And he started racing himself here at the Indianapolis Speedrome. It's a flat 5th-mile short track on the east side of Indy. So it's a pretty neat little bull ring. And my dad had basically spent his entire career racing out there. And once I was old enough, 7, 8 years old, which is fairly old considering you got some guys starting at 3 or 4 nowadays. Yeah. But they have a kid class, a go-kart class out there, and got started in those. Kind of got a hand-me-down cart, a hand-me-down motor, a hand-me-down helmet. The only thing I had to need was my shoes and my fire suit. And went out there, very first race, we got wrecked. And I said, you know what? That's it for racing. We're going to call it there. We're going to call it a career after one race. I got wrecked. I didn't like it. And we sat on it for a year and a half or so. Thankfully, we got back into it after that year and a half. And, that second start went a lot better. And after that, we just never really looked back. And then from there, it was, about moving up. 12 years old, I hopped in my first full-size street stock. about 15, I was driving late models, and then by the time I was, oh gosh, 19, I was able to make my very first start in the Arca Menards series, which was
Wow.
completely unexpected. That was never a route I wanted to go NASCAR racing. I never really had a planned route. I didn't really know how to do it. I didn't know how to get there. My dad didn't know how to do it. He didn't know how to get there. We could race comfortably, fairly locally, but we don't have the money to go racing on that level. So we always kind of thought it'd be a fever dream. And now, we're full time in 2025, and it's been a really crazy career the last couple of years.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, definitely not. I mean, you're still young. You're still young. I mean, you can't be. And my apologies. I don't even know how old you are, but you're probably in your early to mid 20s.
Yeah, 22, turning 23 later this year.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got so much, to still go and continue. But 5 years being into it is quite a bit, and that's a lot of challenges that you've probably had to hurdle over. I mean, let alone the one that you said at the beginning is the first time you getting into the car and then having the bad wreck. What was the hurdles that you had to get over on getting over that wreck?
Oh, so like my whole career we've kind of been the underdog. We've never really been able to go out and be the big fish in the little pond. We never really wanted to. We always wanted to race a little above our means and kind of wanted to be the little fish in the big pond.
Yeah.
And there's some drivers that say, hey, if I don't have a shot at winning, I don't want to be there. There are drivers that say, I want to go out there, I want to have fun. If we get a good run, we get a good run, but we're competing on a big stage, and we're kind of that second half there. We want to be competing on the big stage, and we know we're not going to set the road on fire, but we know we can have a lot of fun, and you know, at the end of the day, too, maybe even make a little bit of money. So, racing late models at the age of 15, it wasn't, we should be running dirt late models primarily around the Midwest.
Yeah.
We had a 24, 25-year-old chassis. We had, like a pretty bare bones, small block 350, maybe a little cam in it, nothing super crazy, like 400 horsepower, which, a lot of these dirt late model guys are pushing 800, 900 plus,
Yeah.
And we were just going out there and just kind of running our race. We'd run in the back half of the field and we'd get a top 10 here and there, and was able to put together, a top 10 of points in a Rookie of the Year at Brownstown Speedway in 2018, which was a really big moment for us because a lot of the well-known dirt late model drivers have come through Brownstown, so that was pretty cool for us. And went down the next couple of years and kind of upgraded our motor program a little bit here and there. And I started building my own motors. That's really talking about hurdles. Money obviously is the biggest hurdle. And going out that very first race, getting wrecked in a go-kart, spun out, T-bone, hit the wall. As an 8-year-old, that messes you up a little bit, saying, "Oh man, I don't want to do this," and then you get a little bit older and get a little bit used to it. But the thing I realized very quickly is, money's always going to be the biggest hurdle. So we always would go out here and do a lot of stuff, budget tier. So like once I build our own motors, it's not like we're getting all brand new parts. I'm pulling like a 5.3 or 6.0 LS out of a 2002 Silverado that has 200,000 miles on it, and rebuilding that, and kind of doing that on a budget at that. So, going out there having fun with that and getting a lot more hands on, and a lot of guys I think would like to be, especially when they're 15, 16 years old. I'm still in high school at the time, and so I'm coming home from high school, doing my homework, and then going and building a racing motor in the evening. So that was always pretty fun. But I think at the end of the day, it's definitely made me a lot better of a race car driver. I know a lot, what it takes to go and compete at any level, and I don't take really anything for granted because of that.
Yeah, no, and you probably without having that money, as what you're saying is the money, because that's always the very important thing within the racing community is without having with that money is what's going to be able to get you going and keep you going. So if you don't have money and then you only have so much, you're not going out on the track and saying, well, you know what, today I'm just going to go ahead and ram this person because he just pissed me off. So it's like you're gonna chill out and you're gonna be like, okay, just we'll get it back and work our way back to the front, or whatever it was. It's like you cherish your car a little bit more than some of the other ones that that have the money, that have unlimited money, say like Dale Earnhardt Jr., for instance. He's got all the money, but but you kind of cherish it.
Exactly. I knew if I went out there and wrecked someone or I wrecked myself, that at the end of the day, I was gonna have to fix whatever I broke.
Yeah.
We didn't have a backup sitting in a trailer. We didn't have, backup sitting in the garage. It was years down the road where we had a, race ready backup sitting in the garage, and even then, it was a car that was a little bit older than the car I was racing, and I didn't really have a new late model chassis until about 2021. And by new, it was a 2016. So it's still 5-6 years old, and we're still kind of outgunning the horsepower thing. And luckily, a lot of the dirt stuff, the reason we went dirt, because I ran asphalt my entire career until making the move to late models. And I ran a lot of the outlaw figure eight late models at the speed room, so that was kind of fun doing the figure eight stuff, which is a very niche part of racing. But with the dirt stuff, you can buy 1 or 2 new tires a night and call it a day. You're good at that point. And some of the races pay, 800, 600, even 1,000 to win, and they don't send anybody home. So you spend $400 on tires. It's me, my dad, and one crew guy. So we spend $700 to $800 total, and we take home 1,000. We put $200 back in our pocket. So at the end of the day, you can't really complain about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and as you were growing up, because you are a race, as you said, a racing family, and you've been doing it for as long as you can known and stuff like that. Who did you look up to as saying I look up to them as a racing figure growing up?
I had a lot of guys at like the local short track kind of I would look up to as a fatherly figure, and respect to them and their actions on track, what they did off track as well. And I would talk, I'd get advice. And then when you get to the point where you're kind of racing against them too, it becomes a little different because you're like, hey, man, like, this is, different. And it's one thing to watch you out here move someone out of the way, and now it's different to be the guy moving out of the way,
Yeah.
But, on Sundays too, obviously we'd watch the NASCAR races and whatnot. And I was a huge Jimmy Johnson guy growing up.
Yeah.
I loved Jimmy Johnson, which that was kind of a little bit past his era of dominance there, but he was still pretty good. So I picked a good couple of years there to root for him.
Yeah, I was both Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon and Bobby Labonte. I would say probably before that, I remember Richard Petty and then Dale Earnhart. The Intimidator. It was like those guys were pretty good. I think I just met actually what was it, Joe Nemechek at the PRI event up in Indianapolis.
Yep.
Which that was really nice. Kind of meet the guy. I'm like, wait, I remember seeing you racing, type deal. So absolutely. So with that being said, so now that you've been doing the Arca Menards series now for what, 5 years, and I know I just saw your post about the it's official with the having the hard ID this year. So what that's gonna be kind of excited to be able to have that and be able to say, you know what, I made it this far. Here's the ID. It's how do you feel? What's the whole feeling behind that?
Yeah, it's been a lot of years of hard work. I mentioned kind of got an opportunity back in 2022, and never really gave up after that. Like I said, we didn't really know how to get to this level, and it was very much like a fluke Cinderella deal to make my debut back in 2022. We ran 2 races in 2022. We ran Daytona, ran Talladega, both with Mullins Racing, and awesome people. They took me in with open arms and basically gave me a great introduction to the series, and they did a lot to kind of help me get my professional career, I'd say, off the ground. And ran Daytona with them in 2023, and after that kind of went our separate ways. And I wanted to run a little more races and something a little bit more friendly as far as sponsorship, where I could easily acquire that. And, that's at the end of the day, when you're a driver that relies a lot on outside funding, you got to go ultimately. Like I said, you can either go where you can compete for wins and go to be there and be part of the party. And I can run 2 or 3 races a year in Arca and be somewhat competitive, or I can run a handful of races, if not all the races throughout the season, and you'll hope for a good run here and there. And when you put a lot of work in throughout the whole season to get that good run, I think it means a lot more to you than if you run 2, 3 races a year and you have something bad happens, you'll get right up. There's 2 races, well, that's it. If you're running the full season, you have a lot more opportunities for success. And, in 2023, we ran 7 races, and a lot of those were for Andy Hillenberg's Fast Track Racing. And then also I got the opportunity to work with Rise Motorsports, Tim and Rita Goulet, for the dirt races, which mentioned my dirt background a little bit ago. I would have loved to run the Arca dirt races, and I didn't even know they did that until I got to Arca.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I was sitting there like, a lot of the Indy Hellenberg fast track racing starts were kind of, hey, we need someone to come drive the car for points, because they would run the full season points, and they would get paid out at the end of the year for the owner's points. So a lot of times they took 4 cars to the track every week, and they're like, hey, we got 3 seats, we need to fill the 4th one. So everyone's come out, drive the race car, a handful of laps until something happens, they get seat time, and, bring it home in one piece. That's all we're asking. So a lot of the starts, were like that. So I ran Nashville, I ran Iowa. I got the opportunity to go over the wall at Salem and Kansas and spot at a couple other races as well. So not only was I getting a lot of experience as a driver, but I was getting a lot of experience in other roles with the team as well. And then, Rise Motorsports, they reached out to me and said, hey, we're looking for a driver for the dirt races. We know you have a dirt background. Would you be interested? And they're a very, very small operation. They had 1 car at the time, and they were only running part-time. I said, you know what? Sure, let's try it. And went out there. We got 2 top 10s for them, and we got 9th place at Salem, which I absolutely love Salem. So those were the first 3 top 10s of my career. Boom, boom, boom. I was on cloud 9 there for a little bit, And 2024, I was like, hey, this is going to be a good growing year. I don't know what is after this, but I want to get some more intermediate track experience, because I ran Charlotte in 2023, and that was terrible. I spun out like a gazillion times, and not a fun time. So, we ran Kansas last year and got to do the dirt races again and run Salem and Raceway Park, and, attempted Daytona. We DNQ'd Daytona. And I even got, my first road course. Got to do Watkins Glen for fast track racing. And IRP and Salem, we were able to sit there and hook up with Wayne Peterson, from Pulaski, Tennessee. He's been in NASCAR now for 40 plus years, and that's an all-around great guy. I've talked to him a lot throughout the garage over the years, but never once really thought about driving for him. And we're coming to Arca, it's coming to the Indianapolis Raceway Park, my home track, and I didn't have a ride, and I knew enough people locally where I'm like, I can probably get the funding for it. I just need a number. And so I called around, and everyone called around was like, oh man, sorry, we're full, don't really have an opening for you. I was like, well, that sucks, gonna not be able to race my home track. And all of a sudden someone told me, oh, Wayne's got an opening. I was like, oh, okay. And so, hey, Wayne, Brayton last year, and I talked to him and talked to his crew chief, Nate Moeller, and I knew Nate pretty well.
Yeah.
And Nate was like, or Wayne was like, if you want to come down, look at the car, you can decide them. Like, Wayne, like, if you got an opening, I'm going to take it, man. Just tell me, what you need, to go fast. And, so we sat there, put a deal together, and he called me the next week. He's like, hey, I have an opening at Salem. I'd love to have it back in the car at Salem. Basically, just, hey, go buy tires, go buy fuel, knock yourself out. And, you don't get a whole lot of deals like that at this level, where it's just cover tires, cover fuel, buy some pizzas for the crew guys if you want, and, go have fun. And so we went down there to Salem, want to get 9th? Yeah, 9th. Yeah, we got 9th.
Wow. So you got top 10.
Which was Wayne's best finish as a car owner in his equipment in over 40 years. So he was, he's been in for a long time. Only 8 top 10s total as a car owner in his stuff. And, for the best finish low in 40 years, at that point, there was that connection, there was that spark. And, obviously I wanted to run a full-time season come 2025, and I had to spend the last 3-4 years kind of networking, marketing, and building these relationships to now we're at the point of, I got a lot of experience on track, and Wayne, he's getting a little bit older, as they go, and he wants to kind of start putting together, a good season here and there if he can. And like I said, we had that connection there after Salem, and started talking about full-time opportunity in 2025, and about 40, 50 days later, after talking to all my partners and him talking to everyone and getting, thoughts and opinions, and we were able to put together a great deal for 2025. And so now we're attempting the full 2025 Arca Menards season calendar with Wayne. So that's pretty exciting.
Nice, definitely. That seems like it. It's you showed him the potential of what you can do, and now he's like, in return, you know what? Probably don't even worry about the tires or the fuel. We'll take care of it all. We'll get you going. Now with Daytona in your pocket now, that's all said and done. What did you, from a as a standpoint of a super speedway, what did you learn and what did you take away from that?
So that Daytona was a weird one for us. We went in there as a very, we're a very small team. And we went into Daytona kind of just hoping to maybe make the race. And if we made the race, we would definitely make the most of it. But, we knew going in it was unlikely we made the race.
Yeah.
We didn't have the same motor as everyone else. We didn't have, the pull-down rig, the wind tunnel that some of the big teams have. And we didn't even have some of the stuff that all the middle pack teams had. So we were just going to go down there and have some fun and, spend a couple days in Florida weather and, have a good time. And when we're sitting there and, Florida weather, unfortunately, didn't cooperate for the vacation side of things, but it cooperated for, the rain dance side of things. And, rained out practice and qualifying a little bit, in which, you were down there. You saw that rain come in Thursday during practice, and that pushed it back and canceled the qualifying. So we made the show that way. And that, for us, was huge, making the show. We were, we started 34th, 35th, survived a lot of the early wrecks, made it all the way up to top 20, then tire went down, ended our day about lap 24, lap 25, and we still finished 24th, so to go in not expecting to really be even in the show to still beating almost half the field, we were pretty happy with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, starting where you did and ending where you did, it's still a good increase to it. And yeah, there was a lot of wrecks that took place that day. Even the one of the bigger, one of the bigger ones, which was the lap 3, I think it was, where that took out quite a bit, and it got a lot of people damaged on it. That was interesting. But coming now up to the Phoenix race, you guys are working on the car, getting it all ready to go. What are you guys looking at to hopefully planning on what you're hoping to plan to get into for qualifying and placement wise?
Yeah, we would love to go down there, obviously have a good run. I don't think they've released any sort of entry list yet for Phoenix. I was just double checking, and they have not. But if I had to guess, probably around 35 to 40 cars, and we're taking the same car that I got 9th in at Salem, and then got a top 20 at Raceway Park with, which that car is not a fan of flat tracks, and Phoenix is very much a flat track.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So we're going to have to definitely play with setup throughout the race day there through practice qualifying, and then every opportunity we get to adjust it and fix it, we're going to or play with it, and go down there, hopefully run top 20, top 25, and we'd be happy with that. And then kind of, Talladega we're not going to be overly competitive. We're going to go down there and make the race, and we're locked in the Talladega, and we're going to swap motors around a little bit, try to get a little more speed out of her, and be able to hang it with a draft and run mid-pack, and hope maybe contend for a win with the draft. But we're really excited though. Later in the season, you have Berlin and Elko and Iowa and Salem. Those short tracks there in the middle, later portion of the schedule is when we're really going to come alive as a small team.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I know because we're going to be at a lot of the races. I think it's 9 of them that we're going to, but I think Kansas is 1, Phoenix was 1. Rockingham, Charlotte, Talladega, Watkins Glen, and I believe Kansas twice actually. It's definitely going to be interesting. I would like to definitely see how that goes, and then maybe get you on again to talk about how that race went. But with that being said, I know we're getting close to the end of the show. You know, I wanted to just get an idea. You know, what are some of the things that you think of when you get into those into those wrecks? What are some of the things that you got to think of like trying to keep, encouraging yourself as an individual, trying to keep yourself as like, going down that rabbit hole of like, oh, you know what, my career is done and over with. What are some things that you think of just to keep you positive of the from the wrecks?
First is my cat. I love my cat. You can tell.
Just sitting right on you.
He's having a good time. But going down there, and the Daytona obviously didn't go our way, but
yeah,
I saw how much still making a show and having a good run meant to not only myself but to the entire crew, and knowing the emotional sacrifices that a lot of guys in that garage make to be there. And the sacrifices that I've made as a driver, missing birthday parties, missing graduations, missing football, and sporting events and whatnot. And every summer I didn't get to go play with friends. I was working on race cars, and so knowing at the end of the day, I've made a ton of sacrifices. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't become a career, it can still be a hobby. And so if one day we're not in the NASCAR realm, I spent 12 years outside the NASCAR realm, so I'm not going to be, heartbroken if we don't make it as a career. But I've done a lot the past couple of years as far as, getting experience. And like I said, going over the wall, being a spotter, being a tire changer, being the crew chief, and, from the late models to Arca, whatnot, always being hands-on. So I think I could always find my footing somewhere in the world of racing, even if it's not as a driver.
Nice. Well said. Well, we definitely do appreciate it for you coming on and talking to us, and definitely look forward to seeing you race in Phoenix here shortly, and going on from there. So again, we salute all of our veterans out there, as well as we salute all of our first responders and everything. And again, drive safe, and we wish you the best and the luck on hopefully at least getting the top 20. But we'd love to see you in the top 10, definitely.
That'd be awesome. So thank you for having me on, and we'll catch up together at Phoenix.
Absolutely. And until next time, you guys, we'll catch you guys later. Keep it real. Keep it 1,000. Don't keep it real dumb. Just keep it real. Till next time.
Shut up. Shut up.
Yeah. Shut up.
You suck.
Stop. In the name of all that which does not suck.
Thanks for watching Fubar Studios Veteran Reinforcement. Please make sure to check out the Fubar Studios on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and visit the website at fubarstudio.com. Fubar Studios is a code Sinista1